All right, welcome to today's explainer. Look, if you're navigating the high-stakes world of maritime simulator assessments, you already know exactly how unforgiving those digital waters can be. Today, we're decoding the ONSAP test. Now, this isn't about teaching you how to sail, you've got that covered. This is all about teaching you how to survive the rigid, totally uncompromising mechanics of this specific simulator. We're going to look at the absolute fastest ways to fail, the precise interface clicks you gotta master, and those real-world habits you literally have to leave at the door. So, let's get our heads in the game.
But real quick before we dive in, we do need to cover our bases with a mandatory disclaimer. This explainer is for informational purposes only. Viewers' discretion is requested for its implementation and usages, and the creator of the explainer is exempted from any claim whatsoever. Basically, we're just breaking down the mechanics of the test based on the source material, right? But how you actually steer your simulated ship on test day, well, that's entirely in your own hands.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1, Fatal Errors and the Top ONS Penalties.
You know, when people fail the ONSAP test, it usually isn't because they don't understand basic navigation. No, it's because they run afoul of the simulator's super strict penalty system literally right out of the gate. To beat this test, you've got to know exactly what the computer is just waiting to penalize you for. Number 1, not acquiring a target. The second a vessel enters your range, the simulator expects action. If you just watch it approach without officially acquiring it in the system, boom, you're getting dinked. Number 2 is a massive unforced error, leaving your radar off sea stabilize mode. This is a foundational setup step, guys. Miss it, and the simulator just assumes your entire situational awareness is shot. And number 3, not maintaining your closest point of approach, or CPA, and time to closest point of approach, TCPA. These are your ultimate safety buffers. Breaching them is an immediate red flag. Managing these 3 things from the very first second, absolutely non-negotiable.
So how do we avoid those exact penalties? Well, let's move right along to Part 2, Mastering Radar and Tracking.
Here's the thing you have to remember. The simulator is essentially just a machine monitoring your engagement. You have to prove to it that you're actively navigating. The whole underlying theme here is constant, hyperactive engagement. The source material emphasizes that you must physically touch all the controls on the radar. You cannot be passive here. You need to track all targets, and crucially, this is a big one, you must pull up and see the details for all of those targets frequently. The computer is logging your clicks. If you aren't checking the details, the system assumes you're navigating blind, even if you're staring right at the screen. Plus, you've got to actively perform radar range scanning. You're basically demonstrating to the algorithm that you're building a comprehensive picture of the whole environment.
Now, beyond the radar, you've also got a digital bridge to manage, and that brings us to Part 3, Visual Calls and Communications.
In a normal real-world scenario, you'd just pick up a phone or shout an order, right? But in the ONSAP environment, everything is boiled down to very specific, repetitive, mechanical clicks. And this brilliantly illustrates the quirky, procedural nature of simulator tests. Just look at the steps required for your primary internal communications. Whether you need to call the engine room, call the master, or call for an additional lookout, the action is exactly the same. You have to click the specific symbol located right side of the binocular icon in the visual display. Every single time. It's a precise mechanical habit you just need to build. So don't waste time hunting for separate communication panels. Memorize this single interactive location. Clicking that symbol next to the binoculars is your absolute lifeline for internal bridge communication.
Now, moving on to external signaling. Before you make any alteration to your course, you are strictly required to blow the whistle or horn. The mapping here is straightforward, but you absolutely have to commit it to memory. As you can see, if you're altering your course to starboard, you must sound 1 short blast, noted here as 1 SB. Altering to port, that's 2 short blasts, or 2 SB. The simulator is watching for a very specific sequence here. Signal first, alter second. Actually, scratch that. It's more like signal, wait a beat, then alter. But the point is, if you reverse that order, or just forget the signal entirely, you're practically begging for a penalty.
All right, let's see how this all builds into the overarching philosophy of the simulator in Part 4, Strict Rules of the Road.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that it highlights perhaps the biggest mental hurdle for experienced mariners. There is a massive, stark contrast between taking action strictly as per ROR and acting as you would practically at sea. The source text makes this incredibly clear. In the ONSAP test, you must take action strictly as per the rules of the road, not how you would act practically. I mean, in the real world, you might make a pragmatic adjustment based on, unwritten courtesies or just practical convenience. Do not do that here. No way. The simulator is a rigid, rule-following machine. It expects textbook compliance to the letter every single time.
Which brings us right back to those safety margins, 2 nautical miles for the closest point of approach and 20 minutes for the time to closest point of approach. This 2 nm 20-minute metric is your standard baseline. But, and this is a huge but, the source material explicitly points out something vital. The simulator can be set to any number. We're talking numbers completely different from this standard baseline. So your job isn't just to blindly memorize 2 and 20, your job is to actually read whatever CPA and TCPA the system is currently demanding and maintain it flawlessly. You adapt to the machine's parameters for sure, no matter what they are.
And when things get dynamic, your navigational corrections need to be swift and completely by the book. Let's run through these rapid-fire protocols. First, act as per the alarm. If an alarm sounds, the simulator demands an immediate, corresponding action. Don't just silence it and ignore it, act on it. Second, reduce speed when necessary. It's a fundamental safety tool the system totally expects you to use. Finally, and this is stressed so heavily, if you do have to deviate from your course, you must resume your course soon, coming back to that original course as soon as practically possible. The simulator just wants to see that your deviation was a calculated, temporary maneuver, not you just completely losing the voyage plan.
Well, we're heading into the final phase of our explainer now. Part 5, Essential Do's and Don'ts.
So the crucial point is, we really need to address what is arguably the single hardest daily habit for a seasoned seafarer to break. Do not use the VHF radio. Do not call other ships. I know. In the real world, if a situation is developing, you just pick up the radio and coordinate with the other vessel. It's safe, it's practical, it's literally what you do. But remember that rigid adherence to the rules of the road we just talked about. Yeah, the ONSAP test doesn't want practical, it wants strict ROR application. If you try to jump on the VHF to negotiate a passing arrangement with an AI ship, you are immediately failing the parameters of the test. You have to solve the navigational problem using your vessel's maneuvers alone, entirely without vocal coordination. Seriously, don't touch it.
Which leaves us with this final, ultimate challenge. Can you suppress your practical sea instincts long enough to master the rigid compliance required by the ONSAP simulator? Because at the end of the day, passing this test isn't about proving you're a good sailor out on the open ocean. It's about proving you can operate flawlessly within the strict black and white logic of this specific system. Remember to click those details, memorize that binocular symbol, sound your whistle before altering, and whatever you do, stay off that VHF. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today. Stay focused, and best of luck out there in the digital waters.